This old man was the most powerful demon of all, killing mercilessly. George cut him into 3 pieces with a single stroke, but soon he would regenerate and appear unharmed. The old man didn't fight back from the beginning to the end, he simply toyed with George the entire time. Additionally, he had the ability to transform into 5 different forms. The second form was a mountain of female flesh composed of countless beautiful women. The third form was a goat-headed demon with tentacles covering his body. The fourth form was a muscular monster capable of replicating the abilities of its opponents and possessing rapid regeneration. The final form was a tyrannical demon lord with a laser eye of death capable of obliterating everything. Can the smallest of humans turn the tide against this old demon of Satan? Odds. Kato was murdered on his way home. When he woke up, he found himself in a room, reborn. Reika and Suzuki, 2 beautiful women in front of him, explained that everyone in the room had died. To stay alive, they must complete the mission assigned by the Black Ball. The mission was to kill a demon lord named Narara Heian. Failure to complete the mission within the time limit would result in everyone's death. With a burst of music, the Black Ball also bestowed this mission upon them. Transported by the Black Sphere to another realm, chaos ensued. The crowd watched in horror as a faceless demoness charged towards them. Suzuki, terrified, fired her weapon, but it had no effect due to the out-of-range shot. Nishi stepped forward and delivered a fatal blow to the demoness's head. The device in Reika's hand sounded an alarm, signaling the arrival of countless monsters. The Night of the 100 Ghosts began. A large-headed ghost spotted Kato, and everyone started running for their lives. The demons pursued relentlessly, and their ammunition soon depleted. Kato was attacked and pinned to the ground by the big-headed ghost. His suit's defensive power kept him alive. Just when they were at their wits' end, a gunshot saved them. It was the well-equipped Osaka team. The Osaka team's combat effectiveness far surpassed theirs, and they quickly annihilated the terrifying monsters. Suddenly, an enormous serpent-like demon emerged, but George swiftly obliterated it with his energy gun. The number of demons dwindled, and the crowd cheered. Suzuki explained to Kato that if he scored 100 points, the Black Ball would provide 3 options: obtaining a stronger weapon, reviving a deceased comrade, or erasing their memories and returning to the real world. As they believed they were nearing victory, they failed to notice a man in the sky watching it all. This man was Narara Heian, the target of the mission assigned by the Black Sphere. In that moment, Kato witnessed an old man about to be slain by a monster. Resolutely, Kato shielded the old man from the creature's onslaught. Almost losing his own head, Kato thrust a stick into the monster's eye. He then seized a weapon nearby, leapt into the air, and struck the monster's vital spot. With a flash of red light, the monster's head split open. Kato's act of heroism caught the attention of Enzu from the Osaka team, through whom he learned more about the team. The bald man, George, was the star player of the Osaka team, having scored 100 points 3 times. The taller one, Nobuo, had achieved the feat 4 times. And then there was the legendary Okahachiro, who had an impressive 7 perfect scores. Suddenly, the ground violently shook as the Minotaur emerged from the water, hissing menacingly. No one would have stood a chance against it. But in that moment, a giant mech warrior arrived from across the street, and soon a battle unfolded that surpassed their wildest imaginations. Just then, Narara Heian's guardian Tengu descended from the sky. The human machine guns were useless against him, and he slaughtered them all in an instant. Kato hit him with his energy gun, but the Tengu soon broke free. George and Nobuo from the Osaka team arrived just in time and took a straight shot at the Tengu, causing him to crash to the ground. However, to everyone's surprise, he was only wounded and not dead. This had never happened before. Nobuo went on a shooting spree, but the Tengu withstood the damage from the gravity gun. Then, it grabbed Nobuo in its hands and slammed him to the ground. Finally, in the nick of time, they managed to shoot the Tengu in the head, but Nobuo also died at the hands of the Tangi dog. To the astonishment of everyone, Narara Heian, the king of demons, made his grand entrance. Despite George using all his strength, it was of no avail. His proud swordplay was useless against Narara Heian. George summoned his battle armor's frenzy mode and attempted to strangle Narara Heian. However, in the next moment, Narara Heian transformed into a female hell and swallowed George in his belly. As despair filled the crowd, Mishi appeared just in time and finished off Narara Heian with his gravity gun. But in the next moment, there was a sudden change in the pool of blood, and Narara Heian reanimated and evolved into a tentacled goat-headed demon. Demon King Mishi immediately went invisible and prepared a sneak attack, but he was immediately recognized and lost an arm. Kato picked up Nishi and led the retreat under the bridge. The battle between the giant mecha warriors and the Minotaur reached a critical juncture. The mecha warriors were no match for the Minotaur, and they were soon knocked to the ground. At that moment, a man in battle armor appeared on the Minotaur's head. This man was the legendary Okahachiro, who began to attack wildly. Soon, the Minotaur was dead. The final showdown began. On one side was Okahachiro, a human weapon with a score of 100.7. On the other side was the ultimate demon, Nurihayan. However, the blasts from the goat-headed demon lord had no effect on Okahachiro. He unleashed his most powerful blow, firing numerous energy air cannons from between his hands. All of them hit the golem's body. Just when Kato's group thought the battle was over, Okahachiro told them that the main event was yet to come. The golem had once again evolved into a muscle monster, filled with explosive power. Okahachiro charged forward and attacked wildly, managing to cut off the muscle monster at the waist. But in the next moment, it was back together again, instantly recovering from the damage. A few punches knocked off the muscle monster's helmet, and soon Okahachiro found himself unable to fight back. In the nick of time, the mech emitted a massive cloud of smoke. Just as the muscle monster knocked him down, a sharp blade pierced its own chest, indicating to Kato's group that only a surprise attack would be effective against Narara Hyun. Then, the mech left the scene. When Kato went over to him, the situation changed again. An orb flew out of the muscular monster's body, but Suzuki blocked the attack with his own body, saving Kato's life. When he turned his head, he saw that Narara Hyun had completed his final evolution, becoming the invincible demigod Skeleton King. Determined to avenge Suzuki's death, Kato summoned his battle armor in berserk mode, forgetting about life and death. However, his full force was futile, and Kato's armor was destroyed by a single blow from the Skeleton King. Ignoring everyone in front of him, the Skeleton King soared into the air. Kato remembered Okahachiro's advice that only a surprise attack could be effective. He decided to use himself as bait, with Reika and Anzu hiding and sniping from a distance. The next moment, the Skeleton King appeared behind Kato, holding Okahachiro's head in his hands. As he prepared to strike, a sniper shot shattered his arm, and Reika and Anzu took their turn. The two sniped at the Skull King, causing his body to break under their attack. But then he starts fighting back, firing his death laser eye indiscriminately. Wherever it hits, there is a huge explosion. Just as Kato is about to reach his gravity gun, he loses both of his legs. Reika is also pierced in the shoulder by the death ray, rendering her unable to continue aiming and sniping. The Skeleton King finally spots Kato's location, and Zu immediately rushes out to act as a shield. Unfortunately, she is eventually killed by the death ray. Kato is about to be killed by the Skeleton King. Nishi, who had disappeared for a long time, rushes out of his spaceship and cuts the Skeleton King in two with his sword, but he himself is badly injured. At this moment, Kato finally gets his gravity gun. He raises it and pulls the trigger. The Skeleton King, already heavily wounded, cannot withstand the damage from the gravity gun and is knocked down. Kato's frenzied attack turns the Skeleton King into powder, leaving no chance of resurrection. After the dust settles, Kato crawls to Enzu's side, taking her hands in his before passing out. The mission is over, and everyone is transported back to the original room. Their wounds are restored to their original state. For killing the Demon King, Kato scores 100 points. However, he chooses not to erase his memory and return to the real world. Instead, he chooses to revive Anzu, who had died for him. The film is called Gantz. Oh, I wish everyone who liked the movie had a girlfriend like Reika and Anzu. See you in the next episode.